At 16, my dad disowned me for my brother's lie. "You're a disgrace," he yelled. 2 weeks later, his pride shattered when he found out the truth. I was only 16 when my life changed in a single afternoon. My father stood in the middle of our living room, pointing at the front door with anger burning across his face. My older brother, Daniel, stood behind him with his head lowered, pretending to be ashamed while secretly hiding a smirk. "You're a disgrace," my dad shouted. "I don't want to see your face in this house again." I kept saying the same thing. I didn't do it, but nobody listened. The missing money from my father's business safe had mysteriously disappeared that morning. Daniel told everyone he had seen me sneaking into Dad's office the night before. That was all it took. My father didn't ask questions, didn't look for proof, and didn't even let me explain where I actually been. He simply believed his favorite son. My mother cried quietly in the corner, but said nothing to defend me. My younger sister looked terrified. I packed a backpack with a few clothes and left before sunset, wondering how my own family could throw me away without evidence. I spent the first night sleeping on my best friend's couch. His parents didn't ask many questions. They only said, "Stay as long as you need." Every hour, I hoped my phone would ring. I imagined my dad calling to apologize. Instead, there was only silence. The next few days were painful. At school, rumors spread faster than facts. Some classmates whispered that I had stolen thousands of dollars from my own family. Others looked at me with pity. I wanted to scream the truth, but I knew words wouldn't matter until someone was willing to listen. Meanwhile, Daniel acted like the perfect son. He comforted Dad, helped around the house, and even pretended to be heartbroken over my betrayal. Looking back now, it was an incredible performance. Then something unexpected happened. A woman named Mrs. Carter visited my father's business, asking about a security issue involving nearby stores. She mentioned that several buildings on the block had upgraded cameras, including one directly across the street from Dad's office. My father suddenly remembered that camera overlooked the side entrance. He requested the footage. The recording showed everything. Late the previous evening, Daniel unlocked the office with his own key, entered alone carrying an empty backpack, and walked out 20 minutes later with the same backpack noticeably heavier. There was no sign of me anywhere. The timestamp erased every accusation against me. When Dad watched the video a second time, his face reportedly turned pale. Then came an even bigger surprise. Police officers reviewing unrelated reports noticed Daniel had been trying to sell expensive electronics and designer watches online using cash-only deals. When questioned, he eventually admitted the truth. He had stolen the money. He blamed me because he knew our father trusted him more. His confession shattered the image Dad had built over years. 2 weeks after disowning me, my father arrived at my friend's house. For the first time in my life, he looked small. His shoulders were slumped, his eyes were red from lack of sleep. "I made a terrible mistake," he whispered. "I know," I replied. He held out my house key. "You can come home." I looked at the key but didn't reach for it. "Did you come because you missed me or because you discovered I wasn't guilty?" I asked quietly. He couldn't answer. That silence hurt more than being kicked out. Eventually, he admitted, "I should have trusted you enough to ask questions." I nodded. "But you didn't." For several minutes, neither of us spoke. Then he apologized again, this time with tears running down his face. I accepted the apology, but forgiveness didn't magically erase what had happened. Trust isn't rebuilt in a single conversation. Over the following months, my father tried hard to repair our relationship. He attended my school events, invited me to lunch, and listened instead of assuming. He even publicly admitted to relatives and neighbors that he had accused the wrong child. Daniel faced the consequences of his actions. He repaid the stolen money by selling many of his possessions and completing community service required through a juvenile agreement. More importantly, he lost the blind trust he had enjoyed for years. One evening, Dad asked me a question I'll never forget. "What kept you going when everyone believed you were guilty?" I answered honestly, "Because I knew the truth doesn't stop being true just because nobody believes it." He lowered his head. I wish I had remembered that too. Graduation came 2 years later. When my name was announced, my father stood and applauded louder than anyone in the audience. After the ceremony, he handed me a small envelope. Inside was a handwritten letter. It read, "The proudest moment of my life isn't watching you graduate. It's realizing you became stronger and kinder person than I deserved after the way I treated you." I folded the letter and hugged him, not because everything had been fixed, but because both of us were finally willing to face the truth instead of hiding from it. Today, whenever people ask about my family, I don't pretend we were perfect. I tell them mistakes can break a home, but refusing to admit those mistakes can destroy it completely. And if there's one lesson I'll carry forever, it's this: never judge someone based on the loudest accusation when the quiet truth is still waiting to be heard. Now I'm curious what you think. If you were in my place, would you have gone back home after your father disowned you without evidence, or would you have walked away for good? I'd really like to hear your answer.